Hi, everybody. Just about that time as we approach 10:30. Time for Nightcap number 21. Who'd have thought? Actually, I wasn't sure when it all started, but one thing I have been sure of over the last several is that the audience is growing. Whether it's everybody watching live when we do this 10:30 on Monday, that of course is obviously not the case. We've got a few, but what we have mostly is people who watch it on demand the next day or the day after, because of course they're always up, both on Facebook as well as on YouTube. So thanks for joining me tonight or whenever you join. And first, happy May the 4th be with you day. It is May the 4th. It's Monday. And as Star Wars fans know, it is May the 4th be with you today. Tomorrow, of course, is Cinco de Mayo. It's also Revenge of the 5th for Star Wars fans. Star Trekkies, we've left you out on this, of which I am one. Headlines: weight loss drugs like Ozempic causing problems at wedding and bridal shops. The problem is the people who own the bridal dress business are having problems. They're making brides sign a waiver if they're on Ozempic or any other weight loss drug, because obviously when you buy a wedding dress, it has to be altered to fit the bride. There's always changes that have to be made, always. So they are making brides sign a waiver that they will not hold the bridal shop responsible if they lose so much weight between the time of the fitting and the time of the wedding that the dress doesn't look as good on them as they had thought it would. So you can't sue the bridal shop if the dress is hanging. That's interesting. Now, the other interesting thing, of course, it's also affecting the wedding cake industry because, at that ceremonial slicing of the cake and the groom takes a piece and he wants to put it in the bride's mouth, evidently now she's just going to say, no, it's okay, I'm good. So we'll see how that goes. One other good bit of business. Hi, Betty. Nice to see you. And Jim, hello. How are you? Good evening to you. The other interesting thing out there, Dune 3 is going to be out soon. And Dune 3, after Dune, Frank Herbert's massive novel, it's had Dune 1 and Dune 2, and now Dune 3. They're expanding the Dune universe, evidently. The interesting thing is the Regal Cinemas that have a lot of IMAXs around the country. Regal Cinemas, who is doing their very best to emerge from bankruptcy. Regal Cinemas, get that name, is charging $50 to see Dune 3 in IMAX. $50. That's amazing. And to go along with that $12 bucket of popcorn and $8 Diet Coke, it's quite the deal. Hi, Denise. Nice to see you as well. And also, more news. Cinco de Mayo, of course, tomorrow being the 5th of May, the holiday that celebrates not Mexican Independence Day, as many people seem to think. It is celebrating the Mexican Army's May 5th, 1862 victory over the French at the Battle of Puebla, just so you know. So happy Cinco de Mayo, and it's not tequila, but it is my nightcap. And, whether it's a cerveza or a margarita for you tomorrow, celebrate with the Mexicans. Speaking of drinking, MacDonald's, more headlines, folks. MacDonald's has announced that they are phasing out the self-serve soda fountain. So obviously, they didn't say if they were going to do away with refilling it for you on your way out the door or anything like that, but they are phasing out the self-serve. And I wonder if the reason is cost or because they have a hard time getting the short guys to get up on the stool and load up the ice in those self-serve things there. So I don't know. It's one of the two maybe. But they will no longer be having self-serve. They're being replaced, phased out across the country, which I'm assuming that'll happen. Maybe that's part of the redo at the MacDonald's in Hillsboro, right, going on now, or getting ready to start. So now, that was about the only place you could fill up, still afford to fill up. Certainly gas is not that way. How's the gas where you are? What, $4.89, $4.99? Has it hit over $5 yet? I was not out by a gas station today, but it would not surprise me that if it did. It's high, and we're defending the Strait of Hormuz. I did see that there was a big cocaine bust in Spain of 40 tons of cocaine. Of course, it didn't have to go through Hormuz, so everything's okay there. And one other thing, John Sterling, the longtime announcer for the Yankees, 38 years, John Sterling, who would say on the great home run call, who would say, "It is high, it is far, it is gone." And he could do it much better than I just did. But John Sterling was 78, and he said he only had one regret. He didn't say it because he'd passed. He couldn't say it, but his one regret was that he didn't get a chance to walk his youngest daughter down the aisle, he said. He had said that's what he hoped he would hang on for. But anyway, it's 78 after 38 years for the Yankees and quite a few years with the Atlanta Braves before that. Back in the days when we had TBS, the Superstation, on our cable systems, before streaming, before digital, before the internet, there was cable and satellites. So, that's the news. What have you been watching on TV? Have you been watching anything in particular? Some of the normal stuff, whether it be the NCISs or the Law and Orders or whatever it happened to be. I have to admit, I'm doing a lot more streaming than I am watching over-the-air television. And I'm not alone. Millions are saying that. And that's why TV stations are in trouble. TV stations are continuing to merge groups like Sinclair and like a couple of others. When it used to be that you could own 7 AMs and 7 FMs and 7 TVs stations, those days are long, 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 long gone. That's why you have people like iHeart Radio that owns thousands of radio stations with 12 announcers. Even if you go see the new movie, The Devil Wears Prada 2, the gist of it is not the runway. The gist of it is the magazine. And they're talking about downsizing and all the problems that come with running a magazine. Circulation. Oh boy. Tough situation. Also, one thing that I've been watching, and I guess just got a kick on it. I watched The House of David, the 2 seasons that were up on Prime Video. And I got done watching those, and then somebody said, "Well, you really ought to watch The Chosen." I thought, well, okay, I'll watch that. So I've watched that, and I guess I'm through 2 seasons on that, or close to the end of the 2nd season. But I saw something that made an awful lot of sense and had nothing to do with religion. And it was just a simple little scene that stuck in me so much earlier this week. And that was Jesus and his disciples were on their way to a town, and Jesus stopped everybody, and was visiting with this woman along the side of the road. She was picking something, flowers or whatever, and they stopped to visit, and he was talking to her, and one of his disciples says, teacher, we really don't have time to stop. We're in kind of a hurry. We need to get to the next place. And he made such a great point. He said, I think he was talking to Simon. He said, if we don't make time for friends, we won't have any. I thought, doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that make all the sense in the world? Now, of course, part of our problem these days with our phones and with our tablets, we have Facebook friends. And unless they're also our friends in real life, in person, we don't have much going on with them. That's kind of like 2D in a 3D world, isn't it? So, it would not be a bad thing. To, be friends in real life. And maybe get to even know some of those Facebook friends. Get them over, have them for dinner. Now, am I preaching to myself? Of course I am. And sometimes we say, I don't have time. There's just too much going on. Who's got time? Nobody has time to even visit anymore. So it would be a good thing, maybe take time. Because as he said, if we don't take time to make friends, to see our friends, we might not have any. So we do have to take that time. I see Denise is telling me that coming up on May the 9th, is that right? May the 9th? Yes. On May 9th is our good late friend John Euban's birthday. John Euban, of course, along with Jim, wrote the Beneld and the Booze Gang book, which, by the way, is still going gangbusters. Jim's still out selling, talking to people, explaining how the book came about, and signing copies of it, hopefully still selling a few. I know it's still doing good on Amazon, that and all the copies. So if you get a chance to see Jim out and about somewhere, it's really an hour well spent. He tells quite a story. I just happened to visit with somebody after Mass Saturday afternoon, and I think it was one of Jim's friends, and they went to school with him, and he said, yeah, I just finished the book. It was just outstanding. So another reviewer heard from, and I think they all say pretty much the same thing. So those are the headlines. Those are the headlines. And of course, just wake up tomorrow morning and there'll be another whole new set. But those are the ones as we have them today. Oh, and of course, if you were lucky enough to have that horse that won the Kentucky Derby, this is why you don't bet on horses very often, folks. Couple bucks for fun. Don't get caught up. The favorite got caught, nipped at the wire. So, and then you had you had an $11,000 trifecta. So if that tells you a couple of long shots got in there, that's what that's telling you. So, I found this out, and I thought this is absolutely fascinating. We hear a lot about how dangerous some of the food we eat is, and how it's not, by dangerous, I mean it's not good for us in the long run because there's so many additives and this and that, so many things that over the period of time, the food industry has put in our food that it makes it pretty bad for us in the long run. In fact, there are 7 foods that we eat without giving any thought and enjoy that are banned in Europe. You cannot, or in some cases, all of Europe, in some cases, many of the countries there. And if I tell you what they are, which I will in just a moment, the 7 foods that are banned in Europe, that you'll say, oh my, I'd miss those. I just wonder if Charles and Camilla maybe took some of these things back because they're all good things. Ritz crackers are banned in Europe. Did you know that? You cannot buy Ritz crackers in Denmark or Iceland or Norway or Hungary or Austria or Switzerland because they have hydrogenated cottonseed oil, a trans fat that has been linked to heart disease. And that's why many of the countries in the EU have prohibited Ritz crackers. Also, and this is the one that would break my heart if I went to Italy, although I haven't had any lately, being on a diet, and that is Twinkies. You won't find Twinkies in Norway or Finland or Australia because trans fats, of course, but also yellow number 5 dye, that's not good. Yellow number 6 and red number 40. Yes, the red number 40. There's food colorings that can cause hypersensitivity reactions, such as allergic reactions or asthma symptoms. You won't find stovetop stuffing. You know, it tastes good, but it's not really good for you. You won't find Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate is, even though it's a wonderful shelf-stable creamer that we use here in the U.S., Norway, Iceland, Denmark, and Switzerland say there's just too many hydrogenated oils and trans fats. You won't find pork in many Islamic countries, of course. It's like Saudi Arabia. And not only that, but it's not just from religion, but of course they worry about how it's processed. Fruit Loops. Toucan Sam is a no-show in Europe. He because of obviously red number 40, yellow number 5, and yellow number 6. And Gatorade for the same reason. So you won't find Gatorade. Okay. Those are just a few of the things. Now, something a little more heavyweight. I'm going to have to read it, but I think you would appreciate this, and I wanted to share this with you. Earlier this week, Republican New Hampshire Senate candidate John Sunnunu, and I'm assuming he is a relative, maybe a son or a nephew of former Senator John Sunnunu. He went on some right-wing news show and made a point to say that he supports a work requirement for seniors on Medicare. Now, I know that some of us, are seniors, and a lot more seniors are going to be watching this on demand over the next few days. So even if you're not, pay heed, because it may not happen in our lifetime, but it may happen sometime when those who aren't seniors yet are. He made it a point that he said he supports a work requirement for seniors on Medicare, and he wasn't coy about it. His exact quote was, "I certainly support a work requirement for able-bodied Medicare recipients." Now, the interesting thing is, seniors on Medicare, of course, have, at least conceptually speaking, already paid for it via involuntary deductions from their paychecks for their entire working lives. You know it, we have. He did not explain that Medicare in retirement is not some act of charity, but rather the fulfillment of a contract that the United States of America entered into with its workers over 60 years ago. It's technically more complicated than that, with current workers actually paying current retirees' bills, because there's a lot more of us now, of course. But the pitch is that it is an entitlement upon which people can build their entire adult working lives relying on this. Not some optional fringe benefit that everyone knows might go away if we elect enough people too dumb to understand. I wonder what job potential future Senator Sunnunu believes, somebody's 80-year-old dad and mom should be working. What job should they be working in order to cover the considerable medical costs that they'll be facing for the remainder of their lives, and which they reasonably expect to be paid for by the program? Maybe your 80-year-old dad should learn to code. Or maybe he should be a greeter at Walmart. I guess the minimum wage is getting up there now. Maybe he could be an air traffic controller. We got a shortage of those. Or with oil prices spiking, maybe he'll become a coal miner. Do you think they would have matching lunch buckets for their, 60th wedding anniversary? It's a basic right, I think, that Social Security always is there, and that Medicare is always there. You've been working on it, you've been paying for it, and you know the percentage goes higher and higher. And if you're self-employed, my goodness gracious, that Medicare is higher and higher yet. So bottom line is, don't let somebody take it away from you. Squeak, squeal, make some noise, because, if they got their head on their phones looking down, they don't look up and see what's going on, somebody may slip something by them. So those are just a few of the things that we discussed tonight on Nightcap. I hope that you have yourself a good night, a good day tomorrow. Enjoy the Cinco de Mayo. Enjoy the Revenge of the 5th, whatever it happens to be. So, what do you think? What do you think? Should we cut our losses? Should we just bomb the hell out of Iran and not fix it up and everything else? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in charge. I'm not in control. And I'm certainly not privy to all the information that the Department of War has. And what do you think of that name? I have to say, I get a little scared sometimes when I read some of the statements our president makes. I'm all for him. I am behind the office. I'm certainly not one that would say I don't, believe everything that he does. But I have to say, I'm not so certain that I'm in agreement with everything that he does. So, but that's not my place. I probably shouldn't have even said that. I try to be moderate. I try to say to myself these days, I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat. What I try to be is an American and a right-thinking person who has a certain amount of generosity as well as a certain amount of caution. What political party is that? I'm not familiar with that one. So I'm not a libertarian either. But hopefully we'll make everything work out the way it's supposed to. On the good news side, our good friend who used to be the morning man at WSMI, after I left the first time and before I came back the second time, we just traded places, Jim Wharton from Nokomis. Jim went on to Sioux City, Iowa. He got a job as a news director at a station there, wound up being a city councilman. Then he was mayor of Sioux City, Iowa. Claim to fame, he got a chance to hang out with Jimmy Carter twice, about 20 years apart. He was executive with Gateway Computers, and I think he's written a book. He said yesterday, I've got a new announcement coming, so hopefully it's that what it would be, because he is an interesting fellow. Now, one last thing, I have to publicly give thanks for something. You saw in the headlines, the real headlines, about Spirit Airlines going under. I know there's lots of jokes about Spirit, just like there was Frontier and a low-cost airline, and a lot of people say, well, it certainly wasn't United or American, but it did serve the purpose for an awful lot of people. I had the good fortune, I won't say I have the good fortune. My daughter Maria is married to a young man named Soren Bakur. They have 6 kids who are all healthy and doing fine, and 3 of them are, I guess basically just about ready to graduate from college. But Soren was a maintenance engineer at O'Hare for American Airlines. He was Employee of the Year for him. And then in a bit of a, I don't know what you would call it, shake-up or whatever, he lost his job with American. This was a number of years ago. And he wound up getting another job, bounced basically all the way down to being just a gate agent at Southwest. Not that that's not a good job, but it certainly isn't head of maintenance for American Airlines. But he did. He stayed, working in the airline industry until he got another job, a great job. And that job was head of maintenance at O'Hare for Spirit Airlines. And he was with Spirit for a number of years. And the people who worked for Spirit loved it. I mean, they had Spirit. It just was that simple. And they did really good. But then, as you know, Spirit was basically turned down to get some help, because you can imagine, if we're paying a lot for gas, imagine what the airlines are. Well, I was worried about him. He had quite a week. He had a son who's about to get his PhD. He had a daughter who just got a Fulbright scholarship, and another daughter who is just getting ready to start college, and a son who is just got a full ROTC scholarship to the University of Dayton. So here he had all this great stuff going on, and then losing his job. But he said yesterday, at the same time Spirit announced they were folding officially, he said, stay tuned, I have an announcement tomorrow. So I happened to hear today that he's just been named maintenance supervisor at O'Hare for United Parcel Service. And they have a lot of planes flying stuff all over the country. So he landed on his feet like a good man that he is. So anyway, it's all good. That's my good news. And the good news also is I'll talk to you on the radio tomorrow. And we'll have some fun together, okay? Thanks for joining me on Nightcap. I wandered a lot tonight, but boy, we covered a lot of subjects, some of them longer, some of them pretty short. And here's the tip. Don't bet on the Nags or whatever. I'll see you. Stay tuned for whatever's next. Maybe go watch a late movie. And I'll see you tomorrow on the radio. Good night, everybody.